Hello there, welcome to Coco Code livestream. Today we'll look into the new UI Builder that will be out in the future versions of Unity. You can already get it in the packages in the older versions, but today we'll try to basically look how to use it and if it's better than the current UI system. Hello everyone on the live chat. I'm looking of course at the live chat, so if you have any questions regarding what I'm doing or the new UI builder, I will be happy to answer you. What is really important, this is basically the first hours I'm experiencing this UI builder with you, so I will be also learning a bit. But if you like to see more content about it, like a video about it or some kind of tutorial how to set it up and how to use it, be sure to comment in the live chat and under the video if you're watching after the live, and we'll try to record something about it. Okay, so the plan for today live will be to recreate something like this. It's not the greatest, I'm sure, but yeah, you can basically imagine that we have some kind of the background. Imagine that this is the game, and we have this pause menu in the middle that have some kind of options, like two options and option to close this pause menu. At the bottom there is, let's call it inventory screen. So this long black bar stick to the bottom of the screen, to the bottom middle, and a few boxes with the items. It more or less resembles the Minecraft inventory system. So the idea is to first build this UI you can see above in the UI system you all, I hope, love. At least I love it a lot, as you can see in my other videos on the Coco channel. To first build it in the classic Unity UI system, and I will of course try to show you some kind of tricks how to quickly build it, and then on the separate scene we'll try to remake it in the new UI builder. So yeah, this is the idea. I'm moving this window to the side for now, so you won't be able to see it, but I will show you from time to time. Okay, so this is a new clean Unity project, basically, and this is scene that will be prepared for the UI builder. As I said, first we'll go to the native, the one we've all seen before, the UI system, but as you can see, if I will open here UI builder, I have already set it up this new interface that will allow us to quickly build this new UI, but first let's build it in the classic UI system. So I have prepared this different scene that has the orange background, so it should be easier for you to distinguish it. And first we'll create basically a new image on the canvas. I have the question on the chat, so is it official from Unity? Yes, it is. If you go to the package manager, you can basically see that this is UI Builder and UI Toolkit from the Unity technologies. In fact, if you have Unity 2021, which is currently in beta as I'm recording, in Unity 2021, UI Builder and UI Toolkit is built in, so you don't need to install any additional packages. Yeah, so that's it. So let's quickly create it in the classic UI system. So as you can see, I've basically created a canvas with one image. If you remember the mockup, this is the mockup we'll be creating. First, I like to have this background with the image. So let's resize it to fill the entire screen by holding Alt or Option key and clicking that double stretch option. Okay, and I will basically here select the source image, which will be our background. Okay, and then we like to create this box in the middle. So I will right click UI image. I'm going really fast. If you like to learn more about the UI, be sure to check out my other UI tutorials on the Coco Code channel. But as I said, this is only a very quick creation of the UI in the old UI system to show you the advantages or disadvantages of the new and the older system. Okay, so this is this middle white box. Maybe I will resize it like that. Okay, and here is the first thing. In the old UI system, we can't create the rounded corners. So as you can see, this is basically a square, the white square. And to create a rounded corners, we've been using this kind of cheating to create, where is it? Texture with the rounded corners, like here. I will make it a bit, with the bigger rounded corner, but it's not ideal because you can see the pixels, for example, of this rounded corner. And I would prefer if the UI system would have some kind of the built-in rounded corners option. And spoiler alert, the new UI system does have it. So yeah, that's great, I hope. Okay, so this is the white box. Let's create quickly a new text element called pause. Font, let's go with the Roboto. Let's make it a bit bigger, like 32. Oh, even bigger, 64, okay. Here we have our pause menu, okay. And let's quickly create 3 buttons. So I'm creating new. Let's go with the image, that will be quicker for me. Let's set the color like that. Again, if someone is right now joining to our live stream, hello. For now, I'm creating the UI in the old UI system. And in a second, we'll try to jump into the new UI builder and I will try to recreate the same UI I'm creating in the old UI system in the new UI builder. Okay, so this is first button. Let's add text inside of it. So I'm creating text as a child, of course. Inside of it, let's create a white text with also Roboto font. Okay, let's make it bigger, like 40 maybe, and just type text. I'm not using Text Mesh Pro. I'm thinking about creating a whole video about it, but basically for the very, very simple UI mockup, I don't really. I prefer the classic text. It basically has all the same features, and while I hear the arguments that the text looks sharper with the Text Mesh Pro, for me, I can't see the difference in the final product. Basically, if you build a game, the text looks the same. Of course, Text Mesh Pro gives you some kind of benefits like the gradients or better shadows. That's great, but I don't need it, basically. So for me, text is really good for now. If I need to create something more advanced, I use Text Mesh Pro, but not that often. Okay, so this is our first button. Let's create its button. On highlighted color, let's make it a bit darker, and the pressed color like that. Okay, of course, if I run the game right now, I can hover my mouse on this button and click it. Okay, that's great. Let's rename it to button. Let's duplicate it quickly. And let's make the third button red. Like that. Okay, it's more or less okay. It resembles the mockup. Okay, so I think that the middle part is done. Let's quickly move on to this bottom part. Okay, right click on the canvas, UI, image, and let's move it to the bottom of the screen. If you remember from my other videos, to make sure it will stick to the bottom of the screen, click on these anchor presets, like that, and here select this bottom center pivot, which will make sure that this element will be always on the bottom of the screen. In fact, you can even select this bottom stretch to make sure it will be stretched depending on the width of the screen. Okay, so let's make it darker. As you can see on the mockup, it's also rounded. I've created this UI to have all rounded corners, which is not that great on the old UI system. Okay, so I will of course use this rounded texture. Let's change pixels per unit to make it more rounded. I will also, you can see, because currently I have also the rounded corner at the bottom and I don't want that, so I will basically resize it to have this rounded corner outside of the screen, so in the final product you can't see it. Okay, and the final thing, the items inside of it. I will call it dock because for me it resembles the dock on the macOS. Right click on it, UI, image, and this will be our boxes with the items. So once more, let's create a rounded box using this rounded box image. Okay. In the template, you can see that these are all white with the items inside of it. So inside of this image, I will also create a new image that contains one of these items. The items are random. Basically, these are all graphics from the Kenny. Link should be in the description, or I will add it after the live stream. Okay, so this is our image. As you can see right now, maybe I will rename it to item in the dock. As you can see right now, if I will duplicate this item, it will be basically copied on the same, pasted on the same position, which is not great, but we can use this thing called horizontal layout group, which will try to arrange items inside of this dock to fill the entire space currently, but we can easily tweak that by changing child force expand width to false, then child alignment to middle center, and maybe let's add some kind of spacing like 16. Okay, it's looking nice. I will also add a bottom padding, like maybe like that. Okay. And now, as you can see, if I will just duplicate the items, I'm using the Command D or Control D on the Windows, I believe. You can see all my items nicely organized. Of course, I can now manually change each item to basically resemble some kind of different item, but that's a purely cosmetical thing. Maybe I will quickly do that. So golden hammer, the diamond hammer as far, okay, green diamond, maybe a bow, and finally let's create, okay, let's use this diamond ore. Okay, so this is our UI created in the old UI system. I will very quickly tweak that like that, and if I will press play, you can see that all the buttons change the color on mouse over. So I can move the mouse and I can click them to have different color, and the items at the bottom resize and move depending on the number of items in the dock, of course. Okay, so now is the part I guess we all are waiting for, to try out a new system. So let's change scene to the scene UI builder. It's currently empty, but I've already set it up all the necessary things to have UI Builder working. Of course, I'm not covering that in this live stream because this is not a tutorial, but as I said before, if you like to see a tutorial on how to use this UI Builder and how to set it up, please comment in the chat and under this video after it's finished. Okay, so now I can't show you that on the live stream, unfortunately, but at the very top you can press Window, and here we have new option UI Toolkit and UI Builder, which is a completely new user interface for building UI with this UI Builder, of course. So I will open it, and this is this new window. So you can imagine that this is our scene. In fact, I can click this Match Game View, which will resize it to the screen. Okay, I can already see in the chat that you'd like to have a tutorial about that. Great, thank you. Okay, so this box resembles the scene. It's really annoying. I can't move it, or at least I'm trying with the mouse also, but I can't see. Oh, okay, you need to use the middle wheel on the mouse. I don't have it on trackpad. Okay, this is our scene, and in fact we can change the canvas background to some kind of image or to the camera. If I will change it to the main camera, you can see that we have this blue color that you can see on the scene here in the Unity. Okay, so I will resize it to fill the entire screen of the live stream like that, and maybe let's make it a bit bigger for us to see, and I will show you how it basically works. Okay, so the idea is this UI Builder is really similar to maybe if one of you ever created a website using HTML and CSS, it's really similar. Like you have classes, IDs, and you can easily tweak a few buttons or texts at once by just changing a class properties. So let's create a simple button. By default, you could use this UXML text code, but fortunately we have this nice creator where we can just take this button and drag it in. As you can see, it automatically typed here UI button, text, display, and so on. But we don't need to focus on that. Basically, we can create everything in this user interface. Yes, it's really similar to Windows Forms in C#. I also used that before. Yeah, that's a nice. Yeah, that's a nice thing because it can be familiar with for many of you. Okay, so we've created this button. Of course, it looks really bad, but in fact, if we go to the scene and press play, you can see that there is this button. It's really small for now, but it's working basically. So let's make it much better. Okay, I will resize it. So with this button, we have this whole new inspector on the right, where we can basically tweak all the settings of this button, like position, like the size, the margin, text, border, and so on. So just for the example, I will quickly change the maybe let's change position from the top. Let's set 200 pixels, and as you can see, it already moved. We can change the size, so let's make it like 100 pixels height. I don't know if you can change the width. Let's try it. Okay, we can, but as you can see, it's aligned to the left side of the screen. We will change that later. And finally, we can change everything inside of this button. So we can change, of course, the color of the button. Let's make it maybe not blue, red for now, we can change the text of this button. So, okay, this is a little bit buggy. So it shows me fonts that are not available really. Huh. Okay, I'm not sure about this. Why, for example, I can't use a Roboto, which as you could see in the UI part, I could use it. So that's something I'm not sure about right now. I will use this different font and I will make sure to learn what's going on here. I will make a little bit bigger, change the color, and yeah, basically we have our button right now. If I will go back to the Unity, you can see that it's already here. So we have already created this button. And in fact, I don't believe it has any animation on mouse over, but yeah. Okay, so we can, I'm thinking, no, okay, so we will try implement animation later on, but for now, let's try to add some kind of different elements. I don't know if we can change, for example, to make this button in the middle. Okay, we can't for now. Okay. Yeah, okay, so someone reminded me about the rounded corners. So here in the button, we have this great border thing. In the CSS, it's called basically the same, it's border, but you don't need to have a border because currently we have 1 pixel border. I've changed that to 20 is free, but we don't need to have any border to add a radius. So basically I can type radius like 25 pixels, and as you can see, I have a rounded button, which is really normal. Like you can see rounded buttons all over the UI, the apps and so on, but it's really crazy to me that it's not built into the native UI system. So that's great that they finally implemented that. Okay, so as you can see right now, all the items are basically in the flexbox. What that means is that if I will add a new text to the scene, it will be created, basically it should be created under our button. Why it's not created under the button, I'm not sure. It's here. Okay, let's change it. Font, let's make it bigger. Okay. It has something to do that our button has the position, because I set the position to top 200 pixels. Let's change it to 0. And now label is below the button. If I will add anything, like I will duplicate the label, you can see that it's basically one after another. Okay, but that's not the behavior we like to have in our game. So we like to have this, let's go back to the mockup. We like to have this box in the middle with the buttons inside of it. So let's try to create this box. I will quickly maybe remove 2 labels. We have this thing called visual element, and basically you can treat that as an empty game object. So in Unity, if you remember this scene we've just created a second before, we can create an empty game object and maybe add image to it and resize it and so on. Here, basically, it's something like that. So we can take that visual element, and by default, it's empty. I can change the color of it, so you will be able to see what's going on. Okay, maybe let's change it to red for now. By default, it's also transparent, I believe, or maybe it doesn't have any width. So maybe let's change width to 40. Okay, we have this shape, but this shape is basically created to store elements inside of it, to basically create some kind of groups. So we will treat it as a group for our pause box. So let's change the color of it to white. and let's resize it. So I can use this normal resize tool. It is possible. So I don't need to manually type the width and height. And let's position it in the middle of the scene. How to do that? So how about adding I'm thinking, okay, how about maybe creating new visual element? There is this one thing called grow. Okay, it works. So as you can see, right now we have button label visual element and a new visual element. I will maybe add a color to it. Wait a second, color. Okay, something like that. So as you could see in a second before, I changed that grow to 1. What grow means is basically to fill the whole space that is empty. Right now we have button label visual element and everything below it is empty. So this new visual element basically filled all that in. If I will hide visual element for now, for a second, you can see that this last visual element tries to fill the entire scene. Okay, so I think we can use that because I will for now hide these two elements. Let's hide it, label and the button. Okay, and let's put that visual element, which as a reminder will be our box, the middle white box. I can put that inside of this red visual element. Okay, that looks fine for me. So we have this one big red visual element that basically covers the whole screen because we have grow 1, and we have this middle white element which will be our box. I will resize it to something like that, and now to center it we can use this align options. So I basically told it to align all items inside of it to the middle and to the center, and to justify content to the middle. In the meanwhile, I have the question, can we drag the UI objects with the mouse, or do we have to type the pixels? Okay, so I believe I already more or less answered that, but while I can resize the object, I don't believe we can freely move the elements. To move elements, you basically need to change margins, to change alignment of the objects inside of visual element, for example. And yeah, you need to do some kind of tricks to move the element. You can't use it freely like in the old UI system. So we have this visual element. I will call it a box because, because we can rename objects, so I will call it box. Okay, and let's add, as before, as always, some kind of radius to the border. So, okay, something like that. And one last thing, visual element. As you remember, we like to have this nice orange space in the background, so I can just change the image of this background to this background image. And yeah, it starts to resemble the same pause menu we've designed at the very start of the live stream. Okay, so what we need to do is to add text and 3 buttons inside of it. So inside of our box, let's create a new text, but you know what, we already created the text, so I will just reuse it and move it inside of the box, and because it's hidden, I will basically unhide it. It also has the white colors, so that's why we can't see it. Okay, this is our label. Let's make it bold, and to center it, we basically use this text align tool. And As I said before, this tool is really similar to the CSS. So to maybe add some kind of space above it, we can basically use margin. Here on the right in the inspector, you can see that we have margin, left, right, top, bottom. Bottom, so I will basically type top, maybe, I don't know, 20 pixels. And you can already see that that label looks much better. Hello, Michael. How did you create the mockups design? So I've created it in the Sketch application. It's up for the Mac, but basically there are a lot of other apps like Adobe XD or Figma, I believe. So basically it's an app to design something. So I quickly created mockup inside of it to then quickly change that and move that to the Unity UI system and Unity UI Builder. Okay, so we have this label here, which has this margin. Maybe I will change it to even 24 pixels. Okay, that looks much better. And below it, as you can remember, we have these 3 buttons. So here also starts a new adventure called classes. So as before, if you already done something in the HTML or CSS, classes will be really familiar for you. So I will make sure that this button is visible. We have this button. I will also need to change the alignment of objects inside of it. So let's make sure it's centered. And okay, that's fine for now. Okay, so I have this button. So the idea is that I can, of course, duplicate this button. But what if I will, for example, decide to, I don't know, change the margin of it to make space between buttons? So as you can see, the button below it, maybe I will also change the color to make it more prominent like that. Okay, so as you can see, the button below it does not change. Yes, it's basically a duplicate, and as we created it, it will stay the same way. But we have a way in this new UI system to create classes of the objects. So here on the right, I have style sheet, style class list. I can create a new class for this object. So let's type it, let's type box button. And here I have this button called extract inline styles to the new class. I will okay, I clicked it, okay, I clicked it. And now when I press this button, I can basically drag in the class we've just created to the new button. And as you can see, all the settings like the margin, basically margin, has been copied. I will in fact create a new button. As you can see, this is this small default button. And if I will move the box button to the new button, all the settings have been changed. What's more, I can dynamically select this style and change, for example, the size of the text. So how about size 32? And that immediately changed that in these 2 buttons. This middle one, it's not saved because we already made some kind of changes to it. So maybe let's remove it. And yeah, I have comment. This is similar to Android Studio, but C# instead of JavaScript. And by default, this is great for apps. Yeah, that is my first feeling. So this UI is also meant to create Unity inspector things. So if you ever, for example, downloaded some kind of Unity assets from the Unity Asset Store, you can see that some kind of assets have this. Maybe let's open Package Manager. So this is a custom window, yes? It has some kind of buttons, a list, a fold-out menus, a text, labels, buttons, and so on. And in fact, you can see that when I create a new button, it really looks like this button in the UI inspector. If I will create a toggle, for example, it looks basically the same as in the inspector. So I believe this tool is also really useful for developers that like to create UI inspectors, some kind of custom inspectors, custom tools. But by the way, it can be also used for the game itself. What's more, for example, if I will take that button, the stock one, like without any changes, maybe make it a bit bigger, like that, you can see that at no, I don't want to do that. Okay, you can see that at the very top we have this default theme option. So my default theme is dark, as you can see, but as you probably know, Unity has also the white theme. So if I will change this default theme to light, you can see that this button also changed to light. And if I will change it to the runtime, it will change to the button that will be visible at the runtime of the game, yes? So this tool, I believe, is mostly created for the UI inspector tools, but by the way, it can be also used at the runtime in your game. So that's something worth noting. So I will remove this button. Or you know what, I will create a new button, I will give it a box button class, and while this class gives us this purple button, I can have some kind of overrides. Normally, if I will do that in the old UI system, I will basically create a prefab of this button, and we'll have one button that have this override of the color. Like in this case, I like the third button to have red color, like that. Okay, and yeah, it more or less resembles the mockup I've created before. So this is our button, but this button is still connected to the class. So if I will click on the box button in the corner here, and maybe let's make a little bit smaller margin like that, and let's also change font size to 45 and make the font bold. Maybe not. Okay, maybe not. But you can see that everything changes apart this red color, which is really great. You can basically create a very small override. You can even see here at the left of the color that you have this little white strip line, I don't know, that shows you that this one thing is overwritten over the class. And yeah, I believe the whole class system is really great. It allows you to create some kind of system that is global for your whole app. And yeah, it's great basically. This is one of the thing I really miss about the built-in UI system. Of course, you have it's called presets, I believe. You have this kind of presets that you can predefine some kind of text, for example, settings, and then reuse it. I showed that in my on my channel with shorts. I don't know if any one of you have seen that. Have you seen that? Can you tell me in the chat? So you can do that, but the class system, which is really built into this tool, is just great for me. Okay. The last thing I will change will be to add, maybe let's add margin, top margin, like I don't know, 30 to the first button to make it stick more from this label. Okay, so currently I can let's go back to the normal Unity. I can play the game. But as you can see, if I hover my mouse over these buttons and click them, nothing really happens. But if you remember our old scene, we had that small hover animation, like the buttons turned a little bit gray. So to do that, and this is exactly the same like in the CSS, as I told you a few times before, like this tool is really similar to the CSS and HTML building. Basically, I can create a duplication of this class box button, but at the very end, I can add double dots over. And that will mean that I'm creating a special version of this class that has some kind of modification depending which will be triggered on the mouse hover. Currently I have a small problem because I'm not sure how to do it, or maybe just tint, image tint. We have this handy preview tool. Okay, it doesn't work. Because if I will change the color, that won't work because the red one won't work. Maybe instead of changing the color, let's go with the how to do it. Maybe let's change the size for a second. It will look a bit stupid, but yeah, okay. So I'm currently, just a reminder, I'm currently changing the class called box button with the hover effect, which will be triggered whenever we hover mouse over one of our buttons. So I've changed a little bit of width. Let's change height. And now if I will click this preview basically opens, it simulates the game run, so I can preview it and simulate the game. So as you can see, the classes properties have been changed to the bigger size in this case. So yes, these are our 3 buttons. Okay, I have a new comment. Is this a problem if I make a Windows app in Unity? It is a game engine, but it also has really good UI features. Which is okay, so there are Windows, like the apps made in Unity. Of course, Unity for most, if you think about Unity, you think about the games. But a Kenny tool, like I showed you on the last live stream, it's a great example that you can create a tool in Unity. But the Kenny tools, to be honest, are really like graphic based, and it's a good use of Unity engine. But if you like to create, for example, a very simple app, like, I don't know, a weather app, Unity, to be honest, is a little bit overkill, because Unity renders the frames, like, you know, in each game you render a UI 60 frames per second, yeah, and it's pretty CPU and GPU intense. Of course, you can try to optimize it, but there are way better ways to create that in different kind of engines. But at the same time, I understand this question because I myself have the same issue. Like, I really love UI tools. Maybe this one is also good. I mean, it's good for now, and as I said before, I haven't really spent much time with it, but I'm already more or less getting it. But the UI tools are just perfect for me. Basically, I created a whole game inside of it, which is currently released on the Steam, which is like 100% in the Unity UI system. And yeah, it's great. And I so miss some kind of optimization options in Unity that would allow you to create a proper Windows or even a mobile app. Like, I imagine myself creating some kind of, you know, social media app even in the Unity UI system, but it's not a good idea because you wouldn't have native switches, for example, native buttons, native options, and it will be really slow and power hungry, which is not great for a mobile app, for example. But maybe that will change anyway soon. So let's look. Okay, so back to our mockup. We can say that we have the spouse box ready. So let's quickly move on to the bottom part of our UI. So the first thing I will do will be to create a new visual element. So currently, if you remember correctly, if I will create a new UI element like that, okay, everything is a big flexbox, and basically this UI element will try to be created under the box, which is not the thing we like to do. But fortunately, here in the flex options, we have this option that instead of wait a second, where is it? Sorry, in the position options, instead of being relative, which means that it's calculating the position based on the previous elements and the elements above it, we can change it to absolute, which will basically mean that it will be some kind of sticked to the, for example, one side of the screen. And I believe we can freely move it. Oh, okay. So this is answer to Preslav Kolev question. You can move elements if you change them to the absolute, but you don't like to have absolute in the UI often. So in our case, we like to have it absolute to the bottom edge of the screen. And of course, top won't make any sense, because if we will resize it to the different kind of aspect ratio and different kind of screen, it will break. But we can type to change its position from the bottom to 0. And basically that will mean that our position is all the time tied to the bottom of the screen. Then we'll change the width of this object. We don't need to change the left and right aspects. We are only changing here in the size the width of this object. So that's 800 for now. Let's make it like that. By the way, I'm looking at the comments. I watched all your videos and appreciate your effort. I like your content. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alcatars, I will read it like that. Thanks a lot. Seems like Android Studio, pretty cool. Yes, someone already mentioned that the Android Studio or Windows Forms, or if you ever worked with the iOS, the Xcode has really similar tools. Yeah, it's something like that, but also, as you said, I'm not really sure if that's really great for the game, because, for example, currently I'm not sure how you would implement animations inside of it. I'm not sure if that's even possible. I mean, in this UI, for sure, it's not possible. Maybe it's some kind of coding thing to do later on, but yeah, that's something you will need to think about if you really would like to have that in your game. So we've created that visual element. I will maybe call it dock, because it resembles the macOS dock for me. Okay, dock. And here comes the great part. As you can already see, I love the thing that you can add rounded corners in this UI builder. It's really great. So here I can change the radius. So I already changed radius of this white object. So let's make it, I don't know, 30 pixels. But we don't like to have, oh no, this zooming is terrible. We don't like to have rounded corners at the bottom, and we don't need to have this wild trick I did in the UI to move it under the scene. We can, oh no, what happened? Bottom 0, okay, this command 0 behaves really weird sometimes. Okay, so here I can change the radius, each corner of the radius property. So for example, I like to have it on the top left, top right, but I don't like to have any radius on the bottom left and the bottom right. And as you can see, after this small change, I have this nice dock that basically grows out of the bottom edge of the screen. Okay, I have this mouse on the side of my desk, which basically is here only for that task to move the camera, because it's really stupid. You need to use the mouse wheel to move the camera. Okay, just one thing that I hope they will fix it until the 1.0 version of this. Okay, so we have this dock, and we like to add some kind of this white item frames at the bottom. So here, right click. Oh, that's not like it works in the UI. You need to create, you drag in new visual element. Okay, let's change its size to something like 50 by 50. Is that okay? Oh, even larger, like 120 maybe? Or maybe 100. Okay, let's change color of it to white. You know what? I will make it even smaller. Sorry about that. 90 by 90. Okay, that's much better. Change the color, of course. Change the radius of the border to something like 10, maybe even 15. Okay, and finally, in the dock, I need to change here the alignment properties to change them to the center and to the middle, which will basically change the position of each element inside of it. If I will just duplicate it, oh no. Okay, we also need to change the direction of elements inside of it. So here I need to change the direction instead of the column to the row. And now it works as expected. Yes, like answering to the comment in the chat, I'm really struggling with this, with saying your name. Sorry about that. But myself, I also know it's sometimes a hard task because I have a Polish name, and for others, sometimes it's really hard to pronounce properly. So yeah, that's funny about sometimes, but sorry about that. Okay, so here I have this visual element, which is basically our box that will contain some kind of item. I don't know if I can basically change the image of this texture. Let's try it. Oh, so if you remember, in Unity version of this tutorial, like at the very beginning of this live stream, I created a new image inside of this image, like a new visual element inside of this visual element to paste in image. But here I can basically change image without creating a new element, which is pretty nice. And let's call it, oh no, why it's doing that? Oh, okay, change it to dock element. Okay, this is dock element, and if you remember, we will also create a new style, which will be really handy for changing properties for any dock element in that dock. Yes, so as a reminder, here in the style sheet tab, a group, let's call it, we have style class list, and let's call it dock element. This will be the name of our class. Extract inline styles to a new class. That's great. And now if I will basically duplicate it a few times, why? Oh no. There are some weird things happening here, and yeah, if I use some kind of shortcut to duplicate or copy, Command Z, it's really strange. I need to do everything with the mouse, I believe. Wow, That's really bad. Wait a second. Sorry about the problems, but I really don't know what's going on here. Like, I can't make it a child. Okay, you know what? Let's create a new visual element inside of the doc, and let's give it a doc element class, which basically will and should at least change the properties of it, but it doesn't work. Like, this is my problem with it. While if you open the package manager right now and you open UI Builder, it's version 1.0.0, and in this 1 hour of this live stream, because we just passed 1 hour, I can't see it as a 1.0 product. Like, there are a lot of bugs. If I open Unity right now, like the normal Unity, you can see a lot of errors which are like nonsense. Object reference not set to an instance of object. This project does not have any scripts. All of this is generated by this UI builder, and that is like crazy for me, because in the Unity 2021, this UI builder is built into the Unity. So imagine having all of that out of the box in Unity. That's just terrible. Like, this experience is really, really bad. I guess we'll need to create all of that once more. So, new visual element. Okay, just looking at the questions really quick. What do you think in the next video will be about the custom editor and window editor? This is a good idea for the video, but it's not something I do a lot of time. Like, I don't create a new inspectors a lot of time, especially like advanced, like building it in this UI builder. I don't know, but it's a good idea to maybe cover that in one of my videos. So I will know that. Are you going to cover how to code the UI elements in the upcoming UI Builder tutorial? By the way, sorry for so many questions. That's great. Thank you a lot for the questions. So yeah, so I think we'll be wrapping up very soon after I will finish this doc of icons. But if I will be creating a tutorial about it, for sure I will need to add some kind of way to code it, and I guess I already know how to code it, but I won't cover that on this live stream. But once more, for me, because I'm starting to summing up this tool, for me it's not that better than the old tool. I know that many of you are telling that the old stuff is like maybe not buggy, but you don't like the old UI system. But I myself love it basically, and I don't think that this will be a good replacement for it. I hope they will create some kind of maybe way to animate transitions, to animate states. So if you could, for example, create two... Oh no, what happened? Why it disappeared? Okay, I don't know if we will finish that, because it's... Oh no, what's going on here? Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if that will be useful in your game. I guess if you have like game really focused on the gameplay and you don't really like the UI, and you like to create UI just in a few minutes, like this really simple UI, it may be okay, but the lack of flexibility here is not that great for me. I don't like it so far. Like, I like something that it's something new, and I really love that Unity is trying to build new tools. Doc item, and I also like, as I said to you before, I like some of the innovations here, like all the styles, like it's all coded, so it's not like hard coded in the scene. You can easily change that, and it will be also very easily updated in the GitHub, on your GitHub project, so you can collaborate with many and build your UI more efficiently. That's great, but building that for your game, I don't know if that's great. Okay, let's try to duplicate that. Cross fingers that it will work. Duplicate. Okay, it works. Great. So duplicate. We will need to create a margin in a second. Okay, so I created this doc item class, and I guess if I will just type margin left 8 pixels and margin right 8 pixels, yeah, it tries to move all the objects the right way. And let's try to duplicate it. Okay, yeah, it works great. Whew. Okay, doc, let's resize it to 780 maybe, or even 77. Okay, and quickly, because our class is currently defining the item inside of it, so let's very quickly change the texture of each item to show something different. Okay, bow, diamond hammer, golden axe, boat, okay. Let's change it to gold sword, and the final one, the diamond, for example. Okay, so I guess that's it. We can close it finally. We can see all of errors, like the last one was 4 minutes ago. I don't really know what was happening. And yeah, let's try to play the game. Let's see if our buttons are active. Yes, they are. The bottom row does not do anything, but yeah, that's okay. That's fine. And yeah, that's it, I guess. That will be it. Boat. Okay. One question or comment. Glad I didn't go to the new builder route a few weeks. Yes, for now, like someone commented, Kolev commented, it's preview. Like I remember that it was 0.7, for example, so it was beta, but currently it's 1.0 preview, which for me looks like alpha. But I hope they will work on this tool, and I hope it won't change the way the current UI system works, because I see the world with both this tool and both the old UI system. So as a recap, this is the thing we've created in like 35 minutes, but of course I'm not experiencing that, so yeah, here's that. And here I have the Unity UI scene, which to be honest looks worse, but that's because I've made it really quickly. But I can just take these 3 buttons, resize them. Of course, that you will do in this new tool with the class to resize them. You can of course create some kind of how it's called, horizontal layout or vertical layout to align all of these buttons the correct way. But yeah, both of these tools have some kind of pros, cons. I love that you can finally have rounded corners in this new tool. as you already guessed. I don't like the flexibility of this new tool, but yeah, here it is. As a reminder, if you like to download this project and maybe try yourself how it works, and if it's something you'd like to have in your projects, you can download all source files for these and many more videos on my channel on the Patreon. Link, as always, in the description. And yes, the last 2 minutes for your questions if you have any, but I guess we will be wrapping up on this live stream. Thanks a lot everyone who tuned in. Thanks for your questions, and it was also a great way for me to experience all of this new UI Builder. Let's show it one last time. UI Builder. A nice experiment, and maybe because some of you asked about it, I will create some kind of intro tutorial for everyone who'd like to start and how to add it to a project. But it's not something that I will be using, at least for now. And yeah, that's it. UI Builder. Oh, let's close it. Huh. Okay, the last question. Are you a fan of SpaceX? I guess it's not in the scope of this live stream, but I do watch some of the streams and I follow what's going on with the SpaceX. So yeah, that's it. So okay, I guess that will be it. Thanks a lot to everyone who was on the live stream for tuning in, and thank you everyone who is watching this live stream after the live as the video. As always, thanks a lot to all of my patrons for supporting me on Patreon. Be sure to check our Discord community, link also in the description. And yeah, I guess that will be it. See you soon on my other videos, and bye. Hey.